There are moments we stumble upon in the flow of time, like stones in a river that glisten under a rare touch of sunlight. They do not come announced or echo like thunder across skies. They arrive silently, almost invisibly, yet they leave echoes that ring inside the soul for a lifetime. One such moment came on a quiet day when the world around me had stilled, not in fear or dread but in a peace that rarely visits the chaos of our days. The air was calm, like a whisper before dawn, and all the noise of life seemed to hush, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. It was a second, maybe less, but something within it carried more weight than hours could bear. In that stillness I saw a smile, yours cast against the light, not loud or radiant, not forced or seeking attention, just a smile, existing in its own right, blooming like a flower where no one thought it could. That was the moment I knew some fragments of time refused to fade. I held on to that glance as if it were the only truth I'd ever known, something purer than memory, older than thought. Everything else became blurred, background noise on an empty stage. The world could spin, but I had found something unmoving, unwavering. You didn't notice the weight of your presence, or how the air shifted to accommodate it. You were simply there, and that was enough to bend the rules of time. I remember the way the light touched your face, as if the sky itself bent its rules just to cast that perfect glow. That small passing second had the gravity of a lifetime. My chest ached, not with pain but with an overwhelming sense of beauty I didn't know where to put. I didn't speak. I couldn't. Words would have only interrupted the silence that wrapped around us like a velvet curtain. In that moment I wasn't thinking of tomorrow or yesterday. I wasn't dreaming or regretting. I was fully alive, and for the first time that was more than enough. That moment defied explanation, as if reality had split open just wide enough to let magic slip through. I couldn't replicate it, not with 1,000 photographs or a million words. It belonged to something deeper than logic and older than language, a space where time dissolves and only feeling remains. You laughed softly at something I can't even remember now, and that sound settled into the corners of my heart like stardust. Everything else, every broken piece, every restless worry fell silent. I could have been anyone, anywhere, yet in that second I was entirely myself. You didn't try to be perfect, and that's what made it unforgettable. There was no performance, no armor, just you, real, raw and unfiltered. I saw something that no camera could ever capture, truth in its gentlest form, and maybe that's why it stayed, because it wasn't loud, it wasn't grand, it was still, it was small, but it was honest. And in a world that races toward illusion, a moment of honesty is a rare and holy thing. I often return to that instant in my mind, like a well-worn page in a beloved book, one that still smells of forgotten dreams. It doesn't fade, no matter how far I travel from it. Time cannot touch it. The days pass, the seasons change, people drift and buildings crumble, but that moment remains sealed, protected, like a flame inside the chest that no wind can extinguish. Sometimes I wonder if you remember it too, or if for you it was just another blink in a long string of minutes. But for me it was different. It was the dividing line between before and after. I wasn't the same after that day, not because something dramatic occurred, but because something quietly shifted in the core of me, like finding a missing note in a song you've been humming your whole life. That moment didn't complete me. It reminded me I was never broken. It didn't change the world. It changed the way I saw it. And that is where the magic lives, in perspective, in presence. Even now when the nights grow long and silence creeps into every corner, I find myself pulled back to it. Not out of sorrow, but gratitude. Because even a single heartbeat of clarity can echo louder than a lifetime of noise. I remember how the breeze moved that day, how it carried with it the scent of distant flowers and sun-warmed earth. I remember the softness of your voice, how it didn't rise above the air but melted into it, as though nature itself had made space to listen. You weren't trying to be beautiful, yet everything about you glowed with a light that didn't come from the sun. And I wasn't trying to be seen, yet I felt visible for the first time. That's what made it eternal. Not the setting, not the weather, not even the words we exchanged, but the sense of being fully here, fully known, fully human. A fleeting moment where the masks fell away, and what was left was something achingly real. I wonder sometimes if moments like these are gifts or accidents, if they are given to us, or if we create them by choosing to see them for what they are. Maybe they're both. Maybe the universe offers them like wildflowers on the side of a path, and it's up to us to stop, to notice, to breathe them in. That moment with you, simple, unadorned, taught me more about the beauty of existence than years of chasing meaning ever did. I no longer measure time in minutes or milestones. I measure it in heartbeats, in glances, in the warmth of sunlight on skin and the quiet of eyes meeting. Some people search their entire lives for fireworks, but I found a galaxy in a whisper, a touch of eternity in something that didn't even last a full minute. And that's the paradox that lives in my chest, something so short, yet so infinite. A single thread of gold woven through the fabric of time, refusing to unravel, refusing to be forgotten. I carried that moment into the days that followed, into the years that tried to bury it under responsibility and routine. It lived quietly beneath the surface, a soft pulse I could feel when I closed my eyes. And in difficult times, when the world seemed too loud or too lost, I would return to it, not in desperation but in reverence, because it reminded me of who I was beneath the noise, of what mattered when everything else fell away. The memory was never heavy. It didn't ache. It glowed like a lamp in the corner of a dark room, never asking for attention but always offering comfort. I didn't need to replay it in full detail. I just needed to remember the feeling, the stillness, the warmth, the wonder. It became a part of me, woven into the way I loved, the way I listened, the way I learned to pause. It wasn't just a memory, it was a lesson, a map, a compass pointing back to truth. Time went on as it always does. People came and went. I changed. You changed. Life twisted and turned, sometimes gently, sometimes like a storm. But that moment it stayed. It aged like wine, becoming deeper, richer, more meaningful with time. I stopped searching for a repeat of it. I realized it wasn't meant to be recreated. Its beauty lay in its singularity, in the fact that it happened once, and that was enough. We don't need endless miracles. Sometimes just one is enough to anchor us forever. I never told you what that moment meant to me. Maybe I couldn't. Maybe it was never meant to be spoken aloud. Some truths are too sacred for sound. But I hope, wherever you are, you carry something similar inside you. A memory, a second, a spark that refuses to go out. I hope you've known a moment that made you stop, breathe and feel something bigger than yourself. Because that's what we're here for. I think, to witness, to feel, to remember. I no longer mourn the passing of time. I no longer fear the fading of things, because I've learned that the most important pieces of life are not those we hold on to, but those that hold on to us. And that moment, that seemingly insignificant sliver of time, is one of them. It clings to my soul not out of force, but out of truth. It shaped me. It whispered to the parts of me I didn't know how to hear. It gave me permission to believe in the sacredness of now, not the past, not the future, just this breath, this gaze, this heartbeat. We are made of moments, and if we're lucky, one of them will stretch itself across the arc of our lives, reminding us what it means to truly be alive. That moment was mine, a moment that asked nothing of me, but gave me everything, a moment that didn't seek to impress, but changed me all the same, a moment that simply put will last forever.